we're going to start our journey over to that top left corner. We're going to see your name. And right below, you're going to see this integrations and tools, and every single user is going to need to go ahead and download the ReachOut Chrome extension tool, as well as the mobile app. But the most important thing that each individual new user will need to do is under available integrations, you're going to see a connect button. And if you haven't connected yet, I need every single user to click the connect button so you can log in with your HubSpot credentials and start pushing all the records that you find in our platform over to your CRM. Now, if you've already done that, that is perfect. Within this pop-up window, we want to go to the top right so we can go ahead and exit out. Now, what we're looking at right now, this is called our dashboard. So think of it as a home page. The good thing about that home page is in the middle section, this is called my feed. So think about this as a social media platform. We're going to get some information about companies, industries, and with those feeds, you can see what companies are researching topics that are relevant to your business based off of what your company selected, to even understanding what companies has a project or a pain point that you can time your outreach on. Say congratulations, use that as your conversation starter. Now to customize this middle section, we're going to go back up on top, and you're going to notice towards the middle right-hand side that there is this blue manage my feed that my mouse is circling over. When I click into it, I'll find my feed preferences, and this is where I can put any of those particular preferences, whether it is in general settings. I'll click into edit and indicate all those particular industries that I might be segmented or focused in, to even any locations I'm trying to target and those company sizes. Now, if I move any of these company sizes or any of those preferences, make sure on the bottom right-hand side, you see this blue finish editing. Make sure you go ahead and click that button so you can capture all those changes that you made. And once you go ahead and save those preferences, you can also go ahead and get an email alert so you can jumpstart your day, know what's going on with those companies and industries you're targeting. Now, I'm going to go ahead and highlight, let's say you are searching for a specific company or a specific contact. The best way for you to do that is looking up on that top left-hand side, where you're going to see this quick search bar. Now, when I click into that quick search bar, I can see some recently viewed profiles, whether it is companies or contacts. I'll also find some of my saved searches that I can jump back into. But within this quick search bar, let's say if I'm looking for a company like Nike, I'll type in that company's name. And what you'll find is on the left-hand side, we'll find a list of contacts that work for Nike or have that name. To even on that right, we'll see a list of companies that also have that name as well. Now, because you're trying to do research on those companies or contacts, you might not know which one to select into. So I will suggest that if you want to make sure that you're getting the right company, feel free to search by a company's URL, their main homepage. Or you can find that in the second line item under that company's name, so you can make sure you're getting the right company that you want. Now, clicking into that company profile, I want you to think about all these profiles, whether they're contacts or companies, as a tool for you to do all your research all in one location. So it's a hub where I can gather all this information. But let's go ahead and start with that top left corner where we'll see that Nike name. And what you'll notice right next to that Nike name is that there is a HubSpot icon. And anytime you see that HubSpot icon next to that company's name or contact, it's going to indicate that they exist within your HubSpot. That can be helpful for you as a team member to know, should I start engaging with this company? What's going on with it? And in that middle top section, you'll also see that HubSpot company owner, and you'll be able to see some more information by clicking that show more. Now, within this current view, we'll see, where is this company headquartered? Industry that they serve, estimated employees, to even that company revenue. And right below, we're going to see an entire ribbon full of features and capabilities that will be helpful for you to gather some information. If I wanted to know what kind of technologies do they use, I can go into that technology tab, type in certain technologies that work and integrate well with me, to even clicking into the Scoops tab to gather some insider information so I can time my outreach. If I know that Nike is currently seeking a certain position, or they just hired a position that works well with who I typically contact, I can say congratulations, use that as a conversation starter. To even that Nike has won this award, that can be also a good technique to start connecting with these companies. But another tool, because you have course, I do want to highlight the course tab that you can select into to see any particular conversations that any team members within your company has connected with Nike specifically. That way, as a team member, checking this section, I can know what conversations were left off, maybe some deals that weren't accomplished because it wasn't the right time. And I can come back stronger and make sure that I'm prepared with all that historical information, seeing whether it's email exchanges or even calls that you set up. But when we're looking at a company, we might want to start searching for contacts. Who might be the best person to connect with that's in the sales and operations department? So in order for us to do that, we're going to go into the tab of the org chart, which is going to be on that left-hand side towards the middle. And when we select into it, what we're going to notice is on the left-hand side, by default, it's always going to be the C-suite. But we can always change that department based off of our targets, whether we want to select into sales or operations, and find those personas in that executive team and that top level management. Now, as I'm looking for those personas, anytime I find any contacts that I'm interested in, I can go ahead and select them and start exporting all that information over to my CRM, which is HubSpot. So I'll select into Jose and another team member, and I'll look over to that far right-hand side where I see that blue export button. This export button will automatically help me push all those records to HubSpot. But when I click that export button, that's going to take credits. Each and every single user within your company will have 1,000 monthly reoccurring credits. With those credits, for these two contacts that I wish to export to HubSpot, that will take 2 credits. If I wanted to export 200 contacts, that's going to take 200 credits. If I wanted to export 500 companies, that's going to take 500 credits. So always think about the credits as 1 for 1. And anytime I'm clicking the blue export button, that's when I'm pushing and directly over to HubSpot and using those credits. Now you might be like, hey, Marcella, I'm really interested in these people, but I just also don't have time to, figure out how many credits I have and keep track of all these contacts. Where can I find that? On the top right-hand side, you're going to see your initials in that light blue circle. And by selecting into it, you'll find settings as your option. Now, with settings, if you look over to the far left-hand side, once this page loads, you'll be able to see how many monthly credit usage you have, use, remaining, and that total amount. And because it is monthly recurring credits, if you don't use them all by the end of the month, all 1,000, they do not roll over. So it's either you use them or you lose them. But on the first of the next month, you'll always get a new batch of 1,000 credits. Now, team, going back over to Nike and some of those contacts, let's say we found some of those personas that we're interested in, but we're not ready to export. We don't want to overwhelm our CRM. What we can do is select those 2 individuals. And from here on the far right-hand side, instead of clicking that blue export button, we can go ahead and tag these contacts. Now, tagging does not take any credits at all. Think of this as an organizational tool. And I can create as many tags as I like to keep myself organized on contacts and companies that I like. Some examples of some tags that I think might be beneficial for you and your team is even to have a do not contact. That can be past customers or customers that just haven't been responding, to even an existing clients. So you can always pull up those records of all those existing clients to see what's going on with them. But for this tag, let's go ahead and just create a temporary one. We'll name this our sales TP as top prospects. Again, this is unique to yourself. You can create as many as you like. And once I've added this folder, I can go ahead and click the tag button to tag those 2 records into this particular folder. Now, to retrieve our tags, we're going to look up on that top middle hand side. And next to that quick search bar on that left, you're going to see our advanced search. Now, jumping into advanced search, to find our tags, you're going to find that on the bottom left hand side, last option. And once I click into it, I'll find our tags and that sales TP. Now I'll be able to find those personas that I tagged over. Looks like I only just selected one person. And now I can, again, if I'm ready, I can export over to HubSpot. I can, again, also, if I add in additional filters on the top right, save and subscribe, save my search, and also get notified anytime there are new records found. Now, team, since we are in advanced search, this is going to be the space that you're going to spend the most time in, where you can build out a list of companies and contacts. Now, within this advanced search, you're going to notice right now we are toggled on the contacts tab. This is going to tell us all the contacts that we've determined and found. But if I switch from the contact view over to the company view, I can now see where do these contacts work for? Nike. And if I go into the Scoops tab, now I can find some insight information to start engaging with them and, again, time my outreach. Now, as we're noticing on top of these particular tabs, we do have our filters, and we can always exit them out individually or click the clear button so we can start fresh. And as you notice in an advanced search, any of your saved searches, you'll be able to see them right here. So you can click right into it, jump back in, or even those recent searches that you build out, you'll be able to find that on the right-hand side. Let's go ahead and start building out some searches. We're going to go into the company tab, start with building out a list of our companies. Then we'll add in any territories that we're looking for. And of course, search for our contacts. Now with advanced search, we're going to look over to the left-hand side and start using those filters. Let's open up our company filters and walk us through. Now, another way that you can also source out some contacts is using this company name filter. But one thing I like to say as an example is if I'm looking for a company, let's just say Amazon. If I click enter on my keyboard, now I'm going to get any company that has Amazon on their name. So to make sure you're getting the right company, I would suggest for you to type in the URL of that company. Let's just say Amazon.com. Click enter on my keyboard, and I can remove our Amazon filter just to make sure I'm getting the right one. This is where I'm going to be able to see Amazon and any of those companies that has that Amazon.com in their name. Now, another way that you can also search and narrow down your companies beyond that company name is to look into industry. Now, industry, based off of my notes, it mentioned that pretty agnostic, but just wanted to highlight a few examples for you. So if I click this show more, I'll see a comprehensive list of all those different types of industries. And what you'll notice is that within the section, let's say if I select into finance, I'm going to get a list of all the types of finance types of companies. If I want to get a little bit more granular, maybe just focus on investment banking or just banking, I can, instead of selecting into finance on the left, I can click into that plus sign and make sure that I narrow down my selection. And as you'll notice, if I add in additional territories or even those verticals, if I select into healthcare as well as finance, you're going to notice that this is also going to steadily increase that amount. So if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by the amount of companies that we can find, I would suggest for you to start with just one industry at a time so you can at least balance and manage your searches. Let's go ahead and remove one of these industries. We'll just focus on finance and continue on with those other areas. Now, on that left-hand side, beyond finance, selecting it as an industry, we also have our industry keywords, industry classification codes, and that company description keywords. Let's say if I wanted to dig into some of these companies a little bit more, if I click into any of the white spaces, I'll actually get an inline of that company profile, helping me see all the information I need within this view without having to have multiple tabs. But within this company profile, if I find any particular keywords that I like on how these companies describe themselves, let's say multinational engineering, If I like that, I can also search with that company description keyword to find any other companies that describe themselves as multinational engineering. With this industry classification codes, I can also search by companies that are categorized by industries with the code. And of course, these industry keywords, if you scroll within this company profile to that bottom right-hand side, you'll notice that if I want to find lookalike companies, I can click into the industry tab, match up all these particular filters, to even adding in all these different codes. And of course, those products and services, this will be those industry keywords where we're scraping their entire website to see what products and services do they provide. That also matches up with other companies. So if I wanted to find a company that provides electrical or software, I can select into these options and find those types of companies. Now, as I scroll back up, to get out of that inline, I can always click back into that white space and that inline will disappear. But going back over to the left-hand side, let's go ahead and continue to narrow down our results. So beyond industry, we can also focus on headcount. This can give us an employee count for a minimum or maximum. Now, within this dropdown, if you don't find a number that is within your target and what you're looking for, feel free to enter that numerical value in this enter amount section. You can hit your keyboard, the enter, and it'll apply that change. Or if you find one that you like, you can also select into it. Let's say 1,000. And now that I've added that as a filter, you'll notice our results of companies have narrowed down as well. Now, beyond that headcount, I can also indicate financial information, whether it's revenue, funding dates. I also have my company attributes where I can put in certain rankings. And of course, last but not least, we have our type and model. This is where we have our business model, as well as our company types that we can narrow down our list. Now, once we've determined the types of companies that we want, we'll close up our company filter on the left, and let's move on to our locations. Now, with locations, you're going to notice that we have a wide variety of locations that you can select into. Within the US and also Canada, you can actually break it down by states and provinces. But within international, you are limited to continents as well as those individual countries. You can also use, beyond these options, postal codes, street addresses. But let's say if we are targeting the US, now that I've checked this box, we are requiring that these companies are headquartered in the US. But what if we don't really need those companies to be headquartered in a specific location? I just want to make sure that regardless of wherever they're headquartered, that there is a contact that works in that another location within my territory I can connect with instead. So what we can do to apply that is on that bottom left-hand side, you'll notice this specify HQ and contact location. By selecting into this option, we now have two criteria. We have any contacts that work at location, which currently I have selected as the US. I'm also getting any companies that are headquartered in the US by location. This is where I'm finding some of these companies, let's say, this company in Germany, because it's showcasing they do have employees within the US. And when I switch over from the company view to the contacts, I'll only be seeing those US specific contacts. Now, right now on that bottom left-hand side, you're going to see this any and all. Any, I want you to think of this as always that or function. So it's either showing me contacts that work at the location or these companies are headquartered in the location. But if I want this to be an and function, I'm going to switch from this any over to all. And now you're going to notice that our page is going to repopulate to make sure that all these companies are headquartered, as well as those contacts that only are at the location that I selected. Now, once I determine those different types of companies, I might need some conversation starters. If I need some conversation starters, a good tool to go ahead and switch over to next is between this company tab, we're going to go over to the Scoops tab. This can be helpful for me to know, hey, what's going on with this company? So when I start connecting with them, maybe I can time my outreach or use these tools as conversation starters. Now, within these Scoops tabs, you're going to notice back over to the left-hand side that we have some scoop filters. And by clicking through, you'll be able to find the different types of scoops. We have financial scoops, which can tell me what companies are getting fundings, mergers and acquisitions. If I click into that funding area, you're going to notice that any of these funding areas, we're going to have a short description, and it's going to have a blue see detail that is hyperlinked directly to that particular article that we found this information. So once I click into that see detail, I'll be able to be brought to the source. But beyond that funding or financial scoops, once I close that up, we also have our general business scoops as well as our personnel scoops. Now, this can be helpful for me to find any new, maybe chief human resource officer that was hired, to even saying, hey, congratulations on winning that award. Or I heard that you have a partnership between you and another company. Maybe that might be a good opportunity for you to connect, bring in that other company as well, to even those product launches. Maybe there might be a product that they just launched that can connect well with what you provide as a service. Now, my favorite feature is actually going to be opportunity scoops. So I'm going to open that back up and close up those other sections. And opportunity scoops are my favorite ones because these are projects and a pain point of a company. When you look over to the description in the middle side of our screen, you'll notice that it says a mid-level source, a frontline source will have high level to even internal, and the departments that these affect and are impacted. Now, with these sources, our 400 researchers that I mentioned earlier are spending 15,000 hours a week calling these companies to understand what is going on, what kind of projects or pain points are you experiencing? And if I know a company is experiencing a project or a pain point that aligns with products and services that I provide as a company, I want to go ahead and connect with them as soon as possible. Now, within these descriptions, I click that read all so we can evaluate that a little bit further. We can even see sometimes if that company member shared what competitors or vendors are considering. And at times, we are even able to get a contact that might be best suited to connect with as well. Now, this doesn't mean that this is a person that told us this information, but based off of the department that's experiencing this project or pain point, as well as that need, we determine that this might be the best person to connect with. Now, to make sure that all these scoops are going to be relevant to us, I want you to pivot your eyes back over to that left-hand side, and you're going to see a series of topics. Now, with these topics, if you click the show more, you'll be able to see a full comprehensive list of all those different options. And one area that I thought might be helpful for you is within HR. Clicking into that plus sign, you'll be able to see, hey, is there any kind of training or learning and development need to even employee retention? Or let's say compensation and benefits, any companies that are looking at remote benefits that might be helpful. Now, by selecting these options, you're going to notice that it has now whittled down to focus on those areas. And what I'll be able to do is, again, target those companies knowing that this just happened yesterday, and let's connect as soon as possible before they find other opportunities, other vendors and companies. If there is a description that you really like, feel free to go ahead and capture that keyword. And on that bottom left-hand side, if you scroll down a little bit further, you'll be able to find the Scoops description keyword, and you can type that through, narrowing down your search and making sure that you're focused on those companies that are going to be relevant to you and your need. Now, if I like this information, all these scoops, on the top right-hand side, you're going to see, again, this blue save and subscribe. This is where we can save all our filters, those companies that we're looking for and targeting, those locations, to even those scoops topics. But not only are we saving that search and those filters, you can, again, go ahead and automate this process and receive email alerts anytime there are new records added for scoops, companies, or contacts. But team, only check these boxes after you go ahead and add in those filters on the top, because we do want to make sure that the email notifications that you're getting are actually within your targets. So because I added my companies and scoops, I'm not going to select into that contacts added just because I haven't added my contact filters. So every single email that I get from here with those notifications will be applicable to who I target. Now from here, let's say we are searching for some contacts. Now we've narrowed down our companies dramatically. And with that dramatic change, we're going to move from the scoops over to contacts. Now we've narrowed down our companies, and now we're getting all those contacts for those specific companies. So we're going to use our filters on the left. I'm going to scroll up and close up our scoops filter. This is where we're going to notice our contacts filter. And by opening it up, we'll find our job titles. Now, job titles are helpful for us to narrow down our targets to make sure that we're getting all those particular personas that we're targeting, whether it's those chief human resource officers to even that sales and operations department. And of course, keeping our eyes to that left-hand side, you can type in those particular names. You can select those management levels to even those departments. And of course, those job functions. Let's say within human resources, I really want to target the compensations and benefits, or even that L&D department. I can go ahead and connect and select only those areas that are important to me. But what if you're always searching and connecting with the same people every single time? It's going to be that CHO or CHRO, my apologies, to even that EVP of total rewards, that VP of benefits, or even that sales and operations department. If you're always targeting the same people every single time, a more efficient tool instead of this job titles that we've selected into is going to be right above, called your buying committee. Buying committee is that efficiency tool where each and every one of you as users can create your own buying committee of up to 8 personas. With those 8 personas, that will be that CHRO to even that VP of benefits, sales, executive, operations, and so forth. And then once you create those personas in that edit on settings page, you can check this box and you'll automatically apply your buying committee, helping you, again, target those people that you want. Let's go ahead and start creating some. We're going to click into this edit on settings page on the left. And by selecting into it, any of those personas that you created, you'll find it on the left-hand side. But if you ever wanted to create any new personas, you're going to find on that top middle hand side, you'll see this blue circle with the plus sign. And by selecting into it, I can create a new persona by department or by job title. Let's say I want that VP of benefits. I can go ahead and type that through, add this as a persona. But if I create a persona and maybe they just aren't the right people, I want to get somebody else instead, you can always click back into that persona, go ahead and update it to even on that top right-hand side towards the middle, delete this persona. So again, team, all of you can create your own. It is customizable. You can type in those particular job titles or select based off of our departments and job functions, as well as those management levels. You have up to 8 personas. And once you create those personas that are applicable to you, on the top right, you're going to click that blue save, just so we can capture all those changes. And of course, go into and back over to advanced search. Now that I am back over to advanced search, again, we have our 58,000 contacts. Now that I've created my buying committee, I'm going to check this box, now applying our filters to make sure I get everyone that are within my targets. And now I have the head of human resources, a chief learning officer, employee benefits, and so forth. Now, if I find any titles that I might not like, let's say maybe it is the assistant to the head of human resources, or even maybe it is location based. You know, maybe the head of human resources for EMEA and my targets is within the US. If you find any titles that you're like, this is not a really good fit, feel free on the left-hand side where we see this job title section, we can actually use Boolean logic and say capitalize not as an exclusion. And then we can type in any particular words that we want to exclude. So as an example, because I'm looking at Sarah right now, our first option, if I didn't like the name head, I can just say capitalize not head. And then once I type that through, I'm going to click enter on my keyboard and apply that change. Now it's going to exclude and remove any of those contacts that has head in their title. And now we don't see our friend anymore. So again, team, if you want to refine your search a little bit further, feel free to use that Boolean logic. And now that we've gotten our contacts, we'll close up those filters. But with all these contacts that we find, we might need certain contact methods. If we go into the contact info, this is where we can put in those requirements for a direct phone to even a business email. Now with that direct phone and business email, right now it is toggled on any. And remember that any is that or function. So if I need every single one of these contacts to have both contact methods, I'm going to switch from that any and click over to all. And again, that will have that requirement. And now I can feel rest assured that all these contacts will have both contact methods at minimum. And of course, if I want to go ahead and connect with Eric just to double check that we have both contact information, again, I'm going to click into that white space. An inline will populate. And now I can start engaging with Eric. I can also use some conversation starters to say, hey, I heard you were the vice president of HR for CoreLogic. Maybe you have some contacts there, or it was a prior customer. To even scrolling down a little bit further, maybe there's some web references that you can connect to even seeing any kind of short descriptions and so forth. Now, if I wanted to learn a little bit more about his company, I can also go over to the overview page and again, be brought into that company profile so I can start engaging and understanding a little bit more about what's going on with that company. And going, of course, into my course tab so I can always know what happened with that company. Was there any conversations, any emails, any calls that other team members have done? And if there is, we'll find that record and we can start engaging with them as soon as possible. Follow up so it seems seamless from our team and connect further. Now clicking back over to that white space, that inline will disappear. And as a final step before we go ahead and export that information, the last thing I want you to do is looking over to that left-hand side, and you're going to notice towards the bottom that we have our HubSpot filter. The HubSpot filter is going to be very crucial for you, team, so we can make sure that we are saving some time and not duplicating any of our efforts. Now, what I mean by this is with our HubSpot filter, we have our companies as well as our contacts and deals. This is where we can actually include or exclude any of those company owners. I can click this all to narrow down that list and remove any of those companies that exist within my HubSpot, making sure that all these results will be my net new, so I'm not duplicating those efforts. Beyond this HubSpot for companies, we can also narrow down by contacts, making sure, again, we're not connecting with those contacts that other team members have already built and established relationships. This might be that contact owner or even that lead status that you want to include or exclude, and select those dropdowns. Now, once I've narrowed down those records and making sure that these are my net new or to include them and pull those records up, I'm going to go into that export and I can go ahead and push those records directly into HubSpot, capturing all 85 of those personas into my CRM. Now with these 85 contacts, that's going to take 85 credits. But if I don't want to push all these records, again, I can tag those contacts, put them into a particular folder by creating a new one and tagging them. I can also select those individuals that I only want to export. Or on that top right-hand side, again, we want to save our search and subscribe to it so we can always get any new records of contacts added, companies, or scoops. We'll get that notification as soon as possible. Now, the last thing that I do want to highlight for you is going to be that ReachOut Chrome extension tool. This is going to be helpful and efficient tool for you. And again, team, where you can find that is going back over to that main page, our home page, our dashboard. And again, on that top right, or my top left-hand side, my apologies, under that integrations and tools, if you click into it, you'll find that ReachOut Chrome extension tool to download. Now, once I download it, let's say I'm on LinkedIn. I might have Sales Navigator. Within this, I can go ahead and search for a contact, let's say Henry Schuck, our CEO and founder of ZoomInfo. If I click into the contact info, there's not much for me to work with. I can maybe try to message him here to get some responses. But once you download that ReachOut Chrome extension tool, you'll notice on the right-hand side that there's going to be a red Z. Once I click into it, I'll be able to log right in and start connecting with any of those contacts or companies that exist within our platform. From here, I can actually export that information to HubSpot, tag them, to even pushing this out on an 80% view to see this information, connect further with Henry, go into the overview page to learn some more about his company, to jumping back over to advanced search and continue on with any searches that I've had. Then once I'm done, I can always push this back over to the right-hand side and continue on with anything I need to do. Now, beyond this area, let's say if I'm on a company's webpage, let's say Chime, trying to find their Chief Human Resources Officer. Nowhere on this webpage can I find that. But once I open up that red Z, I'll find this company. I can go through the different tabs, find some contacts, to even the feeds to find any kind of scoops or news feed and press release that I can connect a little bit further, use as a conversation starter. Go into our org chart, or even see what kind of technologies they're using. But team, if we're going back over to that main page, we'll see this contacts at company. And if I click into it and expand for that 80% view, now I'm automatically brought into advanced search with that specific company, Chime, and I'll find all those contacts where I can apply my buying committee and automatically get all those personas that I need. Now, lastly, going to go ahead and wrap up with some resources for